Today I'm joined by Kate Faulkner, who is the chair of the Home Buying and Selling Group. Kate, the Home Buying and Selling Group, it's been around for a few years.
It has.
What the hell's happening with it? Talk to me.
Good question. So we have been around for a few years. I think it's about 5. And we've been very, very busy, but you might not realise it because a lot of the work we've done has been in the background.
In the background, I mean, I'm more likely to get something out of GCHQ than you lot.
Yeah, that's the way I like to roll.
Okay,
initially. So
you like deep, deep undercover.
Yeah, deep undercover. Partly because everybody just thinks we can change the home buying selling market like this. And people talk about, buying a home, it's, you get more protection if you buy a toaster. And I'm like, seriously? Toasters and homes have nothing in common. And the home buying and selling process has 2 problems. Firstly, it is complicated. So if you lay out, which we've done, every single step that you have to take to buy and sell a home, you're looking at 78 different things that you have to do. And you could actually I've done other lists that would take that into over 100. You can break that down into 6 stages, but it'd be very difficult to break it down even more. You then have to overlay that with the fact that you're dealing with a lender, a broker, an agent, several agents. You've then got several legal companies. You've then got surveyors involved. You've got search companies. You've got removal businesses. This is complicated. Even just one person buying it, or 2 people buying and selling a home together, you're probably talking about dealing with 15 plus companies, all of whom have different objectives. So the job of your legal company and the job of your surveyor is to tell you all the problems.
They love problems. Their job is to find problems.
It is. Their job is to find problems.
They're deal breakers.
Well, they shouldn't be. That's where the good legal companies and the good surveyors aren't deal breakers. They go, this is the problem. And for example, I was buying a property in Acton, and I had this fantastic surveyor because he pointed out 4 problems with the property and he gave me a solution for each one. My favourite one was that the sellers had accidentally built a well outside my front window. And it was 1930, so imagine 1930s house. And what they'd done was you've got the windows that go round, they built a wall and then they put concrete underneath. Well, damp. And he went, all you need to do, drill some holes, get up the concrete, put in some gravel, damp will go. That's what a good surveyor would do during that process. They wouldn't make a kind of mountain out of a molehill. So the real difficulty we have is, firstly, this is a complex thing to sort out. The process is complex to sort out, and we probably don't do it in the right way, but we think we have a solution to that. And the second thing is, you have to get everybody who is involved in the home buying and selling process. If you want to make a change, you've got to get them all to agree. And that isn't always easy. Some don't want change. Some want change yesterday. And some are like, can I think about it? Can I try it out? And it takes a long time. So what have we done? So the first thing we've done is we've got everybody talking together, and we've got everybody building relationships with each other. And one of the biggest things we've done is we've got other organisations are doing it now. They're setting up their own groups. When I first set up with the Lettings Industry Council, actually, with Teresa at Savills, and we did the same with the Home Buying and Selling Group, I didn't realise agents didn't sit down and chat about their business. I was astonished. But we now do that. And we have people that have now got relationships that just weren't there before, and a trust that wasn't there before. Not only that, we have the same with governments as well. Now, we've had loads of housing minister changes. That's delayed things and movements that we want.
Does that really matter? Because it's really, I thought it was the civil servants that actually do it.
It is, but they need somebody to sign stuff off. So we have really good relationships with the civil servants with the home buying and selling side of things. So we know how we want to move things forward. But in between that, then you have to firefight stuff. So there's the small thing called the pandemic. And if I hope I'm not overstating what I think we did, but if the Home Buying and Selling Group hadn't met in the past, and most importantly, not just trade bodies, redress, regulators, but also practitioners, independent small businesses, through to corporates, through to franchises, because they all work in very different ways. We created during the pandemic the first home moving industry guidance, I think. It's not existed before. If we'd left it to everybody else, there would have been lenders saying to do it in one way, brokers in another, surveyors in another, etc. But there was one agreement of how you did property visits. And I would like to think that's where it came from us. We did a lot of the guidance writing, but we checked it with everybody. And what that did gave us a really good formula then to say, right, okay, well, how can we address the other
This was property visits during lockdown 1 that enabled the industry to carry on.
Yeah, well, the whole process, so the guidance that was given through government, that was industry guidance given to government. They made their changes and it went out. And on the day it went out, we also had consumer guidance in the form of checklists. This is what you need to do for a property visit. This is how you need to move. These are the precautions you need to make on day one. No other industry, I don't think, had cohesive guidance that, to be fair, everybody followed brilliantly, because I'm not aware of any incidents we had, which at the time, people were terrified their staff would be ill, colleagues would be ill, or indeed that we would make clients ill. And that, I think that was a huge turning point, because we worked together, we got that done, and it worked. And people, once you put a new team together, you've kind of they've got to have the trust that they can fix stuff. And we did that, and that was very closely worked with the government, which was great. Then we had the stamp duty issues, and this wasn't driven initially by the Home Buying and Selling Group, but the guys who were looking at saying we need an extension on the stamp duty side, we then worked together, one letter with everybody that agreed with extending the stamp duty. That went to HMRC, or that went to the Treasury rather, and we got that through. That got signed off. And better still, because this was fantastic thing that happened, is for the first time we got the media behind us. And again, lots of credit to people outside of the Home Buying Selling Group, because we don't mind we'll work with anybody. We're not precious at all. It doesn't have to, I don't care if the idea comes from us or not, and we'll give credit to where it's due. And letters went out from agents, letters went out from legal companies to say, you may not be able to complete on the deadline of the stamp duty, and therefore, please make sure you have the monies ready. And that even came up in an interview I did on June the 30th with 5 Live, where the guy had missed the 31st deadline, but then got the extension, and he didn't still complete until 5 to 5 on the extended deadline. And the guy said to him, what would have happened if you hadn't completed? And he went, oh, well, I'd had a letter from my agent, my legal company, to say I had to have the monies ready because it might not happen. That very quietly happened in the background, and that was fantastic. And that worked really well. And what we've got to do now is we had to get a team to work together. We had to fix the kind of differences that everybody has. We then had to pick up things that everybody was happy to support, practitioners as well as those regulators, etc. Because if you come up with an idea and it crosses regulation in one of the sectors, we're not going to get it through. So we have to adjust that idea until everybody can say yes. So then you have probably 100, well, we've got over 140 people participating. They're not members. People come in, come back in again. That's fine. And as a result of that, what we're doing now, because we need to open up everything and say all of our ideas, we've got a plan for how we should change moving home tomorrow. And then we have a plan for the future. The one tomorrow, we can all do, and we don't need anybody's help with. We can do that as an industry. But the one tomorrow needs a lot of changes, because it involves primarily making sure that all the data that is collected by lenders through to removal companies, that the buyer needs to successfully buy that home and the seller needs to successfully sell it, that all needs digitalized, and that we all need to know that that data is accurate and safe to use. That's the big change for the future. So
Do you think now that, I mean, again, let's talk about the future.
I'm
We'll
looking
come back
over
to the
here.
present. No,
There's,
but
there's
again,
nothing over there.
what you like. So you want some form of kind of like a platform that allows different, because let's be honest, most of the people in a chain, in a house sale, use the same data. You want some form of safe vault that allows, it's true. Do you think that would actually help the process?
Hugely. So the example is, it's called open banking. That's the nearest example we can give you. Think how that has changed everything. And
Game changing.
Yeah.
It's nearly as good as the Wetherspoons app where the beer comes to your table.
Sorry, Wetherspoons?
Wetherspoons, yes.
No,
I know you don't go to this. I know you don't. But it is honestly, open banking is nearly as good as that. But, so do you think if everyone had the same data and we knew it was clean and it wasn't, and everything was private, it was GDPR'd, that would save shed loads of time?
Most importantly, yes, it would shed loads of time. But one of the reasons we have to change as an industry is, as we know during the pandemic, our industry goes from 1.6 million sales, which it did a few years ago, to potentially 800,000. It takes 3 to 5 years to train everybody, so we can't take more people on. So unless you digitalise the data, we will not cope with another 1.6 million sales market. And we just won't.
Well, we didn't cope with 1.3. Everyone was running around like headless chickens.
Exactly. But, well, they weren't headless chickens.
Okay.
They were working their socks off to get the deals done.
Okay, that was not fair. Fair goes. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
I'll take one back.
So, yep.
So we need some kind. So does that need legislation?
So if I go through the roadmap, that'll make sense. So initially, what we need to do is we can actually achieve moving home quicker with no legislation whatsoever.
Right.
So, for example, every seller should instruct a legal company day one of marketing. I don't want any buyers visiting a property, partly for sustainability reasons. We don't want wasted travel journeys, for the simple reason that we should know their affordability. We shouldn't be really allowing people to view properties unless they can afford it. That's a waste of everybody's time and money, and it's impacting on the environment. Thirdly, everybody should be moving to digital identity. I don't think we're far off getting that done. And the fourth one, which is my favourite, but unbelievably difficult, when I explain that chain of people, this has been taking me a year to work out why it doesn't happen. All the reasons why it doesn't happen is I want everybody moved by 1 o'clock on day of completion. It's possible, but we have to iron out an awful lot of problems which run from the lender right through to the legal company, etc.
But that doesn't need legislation.
No. It needs a mindset change, and it needs us all to get behind doing that. So what we want to do, we've laid out a roadmap for the changes that we want now, of which those summarise. So those 78 things, we've said this is how we move now, and this is the order. We're just checking that's correct, from one independent practitioner through to corporate, through to trade body. Then what we want to do is say, right, this is how we should move tomorrow, like literally with no legislation changes. And then the final thing is, if we can digitalise this data, we know there's 220 questions that need to be answered. If we can press a button and get most of those answered with data that's trusted, that will revolutionise the way that we all move home.
And that might not need legislation.
That will need legislation, because we have to have legislation to mandate information, for the simple reason we're not toasters. If you don't have chain of 3, if you have 2 homes doing it and 1 not, it won't work.
Thank you for your time today. How do people find out more information about this?
Go to the Home Buying and Selling Group website, more information on there, and you can always find a way to contact me, grab me at a conference, or send me an email.
Thank you for your time today, Kate.
Pleasure.